Hey guys, welcome. Muskie Road Rules Podcast. Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you for subscribing to the Patreon. You know, guys, I know that, you know, a subscription thing sometimes freaks people out, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a really good thing. We're going to learn a lot. I'm hopefully going to be here to teach. I'm leaning on a lot of friends of mine out there to you know, showcase some of their wares and to also help us teach and learn more about these stupid muskies that we chase. And guys, like I said, if you go and if you're listening to this right now, you can always go to Patreon, and all you have to do is search Muskie Road Rules. And you can subscribe. I got 2 different tiers there. Like I said, hopefully we're going to get some live ones going. You're also going to get some bonus footage that I'm going to put up a few times a month so that you can actually see and hopefully learn from. But, you know, we've got the Chicago Muskie Show coming up here at the end of this week. And there's a few new baits that are going to be out there. And I've actually got a few guys on here that are the manufacturers, and we're going to learn and see some new stuff that's going to be out. And if you got the Patreon, you're going to see the colors, and you're also going to get to see some video of the baits in the water. And I think you're really, really going to like it. So let's start. I got some friends here from over in the St. Clair area, and they've started a new lure company. Hell, they've been muskie fishing and guiding forever. They might as well make a bait. That's what everybody else does, right? Make something good. God damn it. We'll get something good out there. We've got Jason and Matthew Quintano from over in the St. Clair area, and they're making some. They've got some news here, guys. What's going on?
Not much, Greg. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing really good. I didn't even know you guys were making crankbaits till I seen the other day, and you said you just started this as far as like selling them, but you tested them all last year.
Yeah, we tested them all last year. We had to put it through its paces. We wanted to check durability and longevity just to make sure we can give a good product.
Sure. Now you guys have been guiding and fishing Lake St. Clair for basically your whole life, right?
Yeah. We grew up here fishing here, and we're going into our 16th guide season now.
Nice. And so with that, I mean, let's face it, St. Clair has always been known as a trolling paradise, a crankbait paradise. Now, over the last, let's say, 15 years, the casting has really become a thing out there. And then also, as far as trolling goes, the blade stuff has become super big. But I think bread and butter, day in and day out, crankbait trolling is just one of the biggest and probably most effective patterns out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, year in, year out. I mean, I think it's the way the baits move. Because even if they are conditioned to them over time, I think the way the bait's hunting in the water, the fish still can't resist it. So that's why like our Ziggies, our Lokies, and other go-to baits still continue to fire to this day. Where, you know, throughout the rest of the muskie world, when the muskies get conditioned to a bait, I mean, you know how it goes. They tend to start to back off it a little bit.
Sure. And the other thing about St. Clair too is always, I've always felt like this, and you guys would know better than me, is that, you know, there's so much fresh water get pushed through there. I think those fish kind of stay fired up a little bit. I think that really does help in that system. So now you guys have got some baits here. What is it?
It's called the Mad Tad. The Mad Tad, it was derived from, it kind of looks like a tadpole. We kind of came up with that on the boat when we were testing it.
I was going to say, why is it called a Mad Tad?
Yeah, just because it kind of looked like a tadpole from the side when we were doing the testing. The profile. And I believe it's erratic, but subtly erratic. So the Mad Tad came to be.
The Mad Tad. Well, I got one up here on the screen, and let's talk about maybe the construction of it. Matthew, I know this was kind of your brainchild here. How did you go about creating it?
So essentially I tried to focus on doing it a little more old school. Not necessarily using like CNC machines or copy machines. They're all done by hand, and it's a split bait. So it's 2 sides put together. It's a 60 thou wire that's in between. It's made out of mahogany and, primed and coated and the whole deal.
Mm-hmm. Now,
they come with 4-aught hooks for the belly and 3-aught hooks for the tail.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here, and it's got those, which I think are the stickiest hooks in the world. Those frog hooks on there on the belly, and I've heard people say, well, "Aren't you worried about losing a fish on one of them?" I'm like, no, they are some of the and they're so easy to change. And for a bait that's trolling, I mean, to me, if for a trolling bait, especially a wood bait, and you don't want to get it eat up with hook rash, I mean, they do such a good job because there's nothing really to eat into the wood, right?
No, nothing. We don't have any. I don't think we had anything that had like hook rash marks on it whatsoever.
Yeah,
the finish is held up pretty good, minus the musky teeth.
And that's always good. In looking at it here, it is a wire through construction, and you went with a round lip on there.
Yes, I went with a round lip. It was the best action. We went through. It had to be 25 different styles of lips, and we couldn't get the action we were looking for. Jason likes to say I'm lucky. We went with the round lip off the gate, and it looked the best. And then we had to try to disprove it. And,
I get it.
Yeah, the round lip is what
I definitely get it. Now, you sent me some colors here. This is like a Tennessee shad pattern, and you've got here's I call this a more traditional St. Clair pattern with the frog. Oh, yeah. Who's painting these? Because I know it's not me, because they actually look like something.
Greg, I do remember your first paint jobs on your.
Oh, they're beautiful.
No, they're great. Remember you showed me them? Like, look.
Yeah, I mean, it basically, if a queef had a shape, that is what it looked like. It was, mine were, mine were ishes.
Actually, we're both painting.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, we're both painting. Jason is a little bit more newer to it. I'm still new to it too. I'm learning as we go. I just have a little bit more experience. That's all.
Yeah. Now, didn't you? Now you'd painted some before. I'd seen some of the stuff that you had painted, and these are. I'm assuming these are you're doing just like airbrush with watercolor type stuff, or
so they're airbrush. Some are acrylic right now because that's what I learned on. So that's what I'm staying with. Jason started with lacquer, so he's sticking with lacquer. So we kind of have a mixture going on right now. The transition to lacquer is what I'm trying to do, but it's proving harder than
it is. Well, what on here? It looks like what are you doing a spray on clear coat?
Yeah, I'm using a spray on clear coat as well.
Okay.
It's a different type of finish. It's a single part finish. So it's really thick. So it kind of resembles epoxy, but it's not epoxy. It's a sprayed on finish.
Oh, that makes it nice. Yeah, I'm looking here. I mean, the traditional frog patterns that you got. This dude here, I think, looks really cool. The dark walleye. That's
Jason's lure right there, all through and through.
Yeah. Why is it on St. Clair that these fish love dark baits out there at times?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it all depends what kind of water you're in, though. I mean, like that one right there, that's definitely going to be a cleaner water bait for me. A dark walleye, that's what it's for. Eventually, Matthew's natural walleye is definitely more like day in, day out color. It's got the greens in it.
Mm-hmm. I like this dude here too, the trout.
That one actually has a very interesting story behind it.
Yeah,
let's hear it.
Well, that color came out during COVID, during lockdown. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't all that other stuff, and I was living in a condo at the time, and we may have been breaking the COVID rules, having people over, and
sure.
Right around 2:30 in the morning. Promise I wasn't drunk when I painted it the first time, but luckily I wrote it all down when I did, and I gave it to Jason to go fishing with the next day. I had to go to work, or after it was cleared, and the first fish was a 54-incher on that paint job.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
if you're into that stuff.
And then I told Jason, I go, well, it had to be a fluke, and come to find out really quickly after that, it wasn't a fluke. That color was on fire for a few years.
Yeah.
No, the trout is. I love trout patterns. I've done real well on those. over the years myself. Now, are you guys going to have like, how many colors are you guys going to have? Is there going to be like a set colors and then customs, or how are you guys going to do it?
Well, right now we have 14 or 15 now. We're going to do some customs, but we're not really going to try to get in the business of just doing custom colors.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of want to stick with what we have. We're fishing guides. Jason does it full time. I do it as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Between our lives, we're not going to really have time, I don't think, to sit there and go, oh, let me try to match this one for you.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, I've always, every year, like at the shows and stuff, if you can come up with a few custom colors and stuff like that, I think it's always great. But I think, having a nice set of, these colors we always will have, I think is always, is a nice thing.
Yeah, it's going to open up too. We're going to have, I don't want to say St. Clair colors, but there's some colors here that just no one's ever going to run anywhere else.
Sure.
We know it. So we'll have stuff locally for the guys here that are like staples. And they'll make it onto the Facebook page and eventually the website.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. Now, all these baits, they're 6-inch?
Yes.
6-inch.
Yep. Yeah, all 6-inch stuff. And any plans on going a little bigger, or?
I'm going to attempt to go to about an 8. We're going to try it during this year, prototype something during the fishing season, and then hopefully release it next year if it works out.
Sure. No, I get it. Let's look here. You sent me, I think this is neat. This is something I know people like, to the depth charts. And this is basically what you guys came up with last year is kind of what you noticed. And you're running 40-pound. Is it mainly mono, or is this with braid?
Yeah, that's mono for the main line. Yep.
Okay. Mono main line. It looks like, so, it's a fairly, at 10 feet, you're looking at about 2 feet down, 20 feet, 6 feet down, 30 feet, 8 feet down, and you can get it all the way down to 15 feet. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
actually.
oh, yeah.
Getting it down that far. Now, these baits last year for you, Jason, did you find that, running them higher or lower? I mean, was there any kind of like sweet spot for you?
Well, I mean, day in, day out, we go out there, we try to shred the water column, and I don't want to say it the wrong way. I didn't want to approach it as a bait maker. I wanted to approach it as a fisherman still. So
Sure.
When I was out there, we got 10, 12 rods out. The most I ever had out was, 2 to 3. So, and if they're going to find them, they'll find them in the spread. I want the fish to, we got our Lokies out there, our gobies, our ziggies, bucktails, matlocks, headlocks. If those fish key in on it, then we're on to something. So, if I had some on my board up high, up shallow, like 2 and 30, 2 and 25, and then I'd have some down and, down deep, like on the down rod, we'd have them back, 12 ounces on them, 15, 20 feet back. So, deep and high, they liked them all around.
Okay. So you got fish were definitely keying in with them. And
Yep.
let's show the video here so guys can kind of see, what this baby looks like in the water. We're going to bring it up here, and it definitely does have a lot of hunt to it. Now, how did, is the whole hunt deal, did that take you a while to figure out to make it do it, or did it just did it?
That's where Jason says I'm lucky. We plopped it in. We had to do like 2 tunes to it, and then that started happening.
Yeah.
It
we had, I think we had originally had 3 different body types that with different lips and, this and that, but, it was 3 shots and there it was. So,
yeah, no, it's pretty, I tell you what, the thing does move, really nice in the water. Here looks like a decent day, a 48 and a 50 incher. That's not bad.
Yeah. That's on Gremlin Chaser's boat. There's one of our buddies we give a prototype to, and we give our other buddy Frank Beal some prototypes, and our other friend Jason Wiegand we give a prototype to, and everyone caught fish on them. And all they had was 1. I mean, the most I had all season was 25 of them, which was a fair amount, but I still didn't have every color I need. You know how it is out here, and they did a great job. I mean, I was more than pleased. That video you have right there, I like a lot because at the end with the rod right there, because you know, it shows the rod tip and you can't hide it. And the thing with the action on that bait is, I'm not saying nothing bad about no other bait. I love lures, but there's no synchronized action in that bait at all. It will work one side. It'll do whatever it's going to do, and then it will swing back around and go right back and do something different. It's not back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. It does what it wants. And that's what I want it to do. Because if a fish is actually getting chased, it's not going to be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I want it to look as real as possible.
Yeah, it looks like it's just swimming down there, which is really
that's what we tell people. It's really not hunting. It's hunting, but it looks like it's swimming. And if you look at how it's pivoting, it's got more of a scissor action in the middle opposed to a hard head hunt, which you know, and that's the thing. Like we're not trying to replace nothing. Like, you know, this is just another tool in the toolbox, and I love lures, and
that's a great shot right there on the video where you can really see, you know, what it's doing down there, how it's moving around in the water. And hell, it looks like it's got it moves. Oh, yeah. I mean, almost 4 or 5 feet, more than that sometimes. And what I notice here is this got a weight on it there, or is that just a free behind the boat?
Where
here?
No, there's no weight on that.
No weight.
That's just like a 7-foot leader,
8-foot leader, yeah,
and just letting it swim. Well, that's pretty cool if you can, you know, because one of the problems I've had, and I think other people have had too, is with baits that really hunt like that. You might have to add some weight to it to kind of calm it down to keep it from tangling other lines.
Well, that's the thing with the bait as well, is it's got a long nose wire, and there's pros and cons to the nose wire. If you go back to the picture of the actual bait, eventually you'll see the nose wire is long on it. With a long nose wire like that, like anytime I buy a Ziggy or a Loki, I always look for a long nose wire, because with that longer nose wire, you could definitely make it do different things by tuning it up, down, make it dig a little bit more, you know, not swim as hard. There's lots of variables. Now, it's not a flaw or it's not a con, but if you get a big fish and there's a lot of pressure on that, you may have to retune it afterwards because it does have a longer nose wire on it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's an outstanding bait. And
I look at it as you caught a big one. Get over it.
Well, that too. Yeah.
I'm kind of in that. I'm in that camp right there.
Retuning it is, you know, that's first world problems in my eyes. But like these colors that we're seeing here, so like, are these ones that you guys yourself have had just really good luck with, or ones that people have asked for?
A lot of the colors that we're offering are based on St. Clair colors that we've had good luck with. Obviously, like a Tennessee shad that's up on the screen right now, that's a go-to staple here at St. Clair. Trying to get it just right is another thing, and trying to please everybody is another thing. But yeah, it's a good staple. One of the ones that's new to me was the Fire Tiger. I don't like to. I'm not saying don't like to run. It's just I just don't have a opportunity to run a lure that bright.
Sure.
And I don't want to say the picture doesn't do it justice, but in the booth when you guys come to the shows or whoever, you're going to see how bright that lure is. That it's going to stand out anywhere you want.
Sure.
Some of those colors are colors that we caught fish on this year. The MI Blue Perch was on fire. Death's Frog, Olive Frog, Dark Frog. Dark Frog was great. But like the Fire Tiger and what's the white one called? Casper. You know, we also tried putting some out there for guys where we're going. Green Bay guys, reservoir fishermen, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like some of the colors aren't our go-to colors, but those colors that we tried putting out for, to accommodate guys at the show.
Sure. No, I get that. Well, let's talk about shows. Where can guys find your booth at?
We're going to be in Chicago this weekend coming up, Ohio the weekend after, New York. And then we're going to be at the Pennsylvania show as well.
Okay. Well, that's cool. And then online? Where can they, on Facebook? Do you have a website? Where can they
The
get your
website's still
information?
getting worked, actually. I guess it takes longer to make a website than I thought, but we're working on that. But right now, Facebook is the primary way of contacting us. Just find us, Fins and Grins, Handcrafted Lures. Friend us, like us, message us on there. My personal cell is on there as well. And I have an email, finsgrinslure@gmail.com.
How's it been? You just, you've only been doing it now. You only had them up for sale for a couple of weeks. How's it going?
Ugh.
It's going pretty good. Pretty good. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna go. People are gonna love them. The baits look great. They look, first off, you got to catch the fishermen, right?
Yep.
And they look awesome. I'm sure, guys at the Chicago show, and guys, it starts this weekend, starts on Friday. Make sure you come out and see these guys and take a look at these baits. I'm telling you, they look absolutely phenomenal. And going back to this video here, I mean, I'm like you, that's the perfect shot right there.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that baby moving in the water and see everything with it. So, guys, I think it's going to be awesome. I will see you guys this weekend at the Chicago show, and I appreciate you coming on here with me. And we'll see you this weekend.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it, bud.
Thanks, Greg. I like the new format.
All right, guys, we're back. Muskie Road Rules podcast. And again, Patreon, all that. Make sure you guys try to subscribe. Glad we talked to the Fins and Grins guys, Matt and Jason Quintano there. Pretty cool bait. But there's going to be some more cool stuff happen at the Chicago Muskie Show. Some more new baits you're going to find. And this time I'm going to bring up my buddy Matt Gunkel from LLungen Lures, and they've got some new stuff too. Matt, how you doing?
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me today. Doing well. Looking forward to the Muskie Show season starting in a couple days.
Yeah, how's it been? You been putting split ring and hooks like crazy, or what?
My hands are not bleeding anymore. That they were bleeding for a few weeks. But we were a little ahead of the curve this year, so I had a lot of things set by about the holidays. But getting ready to pack the trailer in the next couple days and head up Thursday morning to sit up in the King County Fairgrounds.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to be up. I'm getting there on Thursday as well. I'm speaking for the Chicagoland muskie hunters that night. And so I'm going to try to get in, throw my booth up, and then go and speak for those guys. And just as a side note here, guys, anybody's allowed at this. It's going to be Chicagoland Muskie Hunters. Just look it up on, just go to their website. It's at North Branch Pizza, so you can get pizza as a consolation besides hearing me. And check it out. It's open to the public. There's going to be raffles, giveaways. I'm going to bring some stuff. So check that out. But you guys have got some new stuff going this year. What's new with LLungen?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a great group of guys. They actually came and visited in the spring,
Mm-hmm.
and we had kind of a cool event at the hotel. But for 2025, LLungen has a new bait we're putting out. We're calling it the Moneymaker. It's an 11-inch rubber swim bait. We're dipping our toes into the rubber market. It's something we've been trying to get in the works for a couple of years, and we finally executed enough and are happy with the product to sell it to customers.
And it's spelled with a $sign, which I like because of I'm an old wrestling fan, and the Ted DiBiase, he always had the $sign and the $1 Million Man, and it's kind of the same way he spelled it. So I like that. It's a little bit different, but you sit here. I'm looking at it on a video, guys, and it's 11-inch swim bait, 8 ounces. What made you guys do this?
So I've always been a big swim bait fisherman, but for pretty much every other species than muskies. I used a lot of the swim baits on the muskie market, and I've had a little bit of limited success, but it's mostly been uh, follows, a good locating bait, but not a really good bait to catch fish on. And fishing for smallmouth, walleye, salmon, pike, uh, you name it, inshore saltwater species. They all eat swim baits, and I've actually caught a lot of muskies on kind of a lot of different bass style swim baits better than the muskie style swim baits. And so I wanted something that fish just seem to eat more than follow. Uh, and we wanted something that had a big wide body roll, exaggerated kick, something that wasn't gigantic to where it was terrible to fish,
Hmm.
but put really big water displacement profile and attracted big fish.
Yeah, and then something else I'm noticing about this is it looks like the eyelet goes straight out the front of the bait.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
because on a
The
lot,
line tie is pretty much straight out.
yeah, because a lot of swim baits, you see it more on the top of the head, or this looks like it goes straight out. Do you think that actually helps it keeps it up in the water column a little better?
It runs like between 4 and 7 feet on a regular cast. So if you want to fish it really fast, you can keep it up high. But we had most of our success kind of fishing at a regular retrieve, 5, 6, 7 feet down, just kind of getting out of the sight when the sun was up.
Hmm.
Um, and we messed around a little bit with putting like a 3/4 1 ounce weight right on the nose to sink it down when we were doing a little bit of fishing over suspended bait. Have had some success doing that too. But I wouldn't say that that line tie makes it stay higher in the column, but I do think it gives it a wider body roll than having it come out straight out the nose.
Sure. It looks like I'm just watching the video here, and it really looks like that tail's got a lot of twist to it. The bait moves around down there. That's pretty cool. That's a nice shot there. Were you down there underneath of it filming up?
No, no, I had some much more talented videographers doing that.
Oh, I get it. That's cool. These swim baits. It's funny because, like you said, um, fish of all species have been eating swim baits for just years and years and years, and it finally took off in the muskie market. The pike market, swim baits have been around forever, um, and I think it's now that the muskie market, the guys are getting to use them, even all the way in, and they're not just like a regional bait either. Guys from, Canada, all over the Midwest, Minnesota, all the way out to New York are having luck on these baits. And it looks like you've got a pretty cool one here. Now, wire through harness, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so it's a piece of 0.62 wire connected, sealed, and then has weight clamped on it. There is some pictures in that video. You can kind of see that pearl white
Mm-hmm.
shad. You can kind of see the harness in the bait a little bit. But yeah, it's an internal harness, 2 hooks, and the line the line hanger comes right out the nose. It's made to fish with a split ring or a snap, however guys prefer. I did it both ways. I don't think it really have an effect on the actual action of the bait. I pretty much just did a wire leader with a snap to the bait.
Okay. So with these baits here, tell us how they fished for you last year. I see some pictures flying up here.
So the final version, we did really well in November and December on. It was something that the guy that we collaborated with, Troy of Big Strike Mike Bucktails, he had been messing around with it for a little bit, and I had been offering some suggestions and been going back and forth for a while in the summer, uh, and really had it close, caught a few fish, but never really got it just right. Some tweaks to the It seemed like some tweaks to the process of pouring the bait, along with a few tweaks to where the harness came out. We do have the front hook pushed up pretty far towards the nose
Mm-hmm.
for fish that are headshot in the bait, as well as we changed the back hook location, which allowed that tail to really swivel all the way around like 360 degrees to displace more water. And
Sure.
once we kind of got it right in November, uh, it was pretty much immediately we had some success. Fortunately, we had a lot of clear water, so I could do a lot of testing, and I was fishing a lot that time of year because there wasn't there there wasn't a ton of them available. I wasn't able to send them out to 20, 30 guys like I have in the past with some other baits. We had maybe a dozen baits that all got pretty shredded. I'm going to probably bring a couple of the originals out that don't have any tails left, or the lamination is in 15 pieces because they got shredded up. But we had good success on them, caught some really nice fish, caught some good numbers. And the thing that was the most promising to me was we did have a few fish that followed. Of course, it didn't eat, but we had a much better bite to follow ratio than I have at on other swim baits in the past. And that was something that was big for me, just because I feel like there's some baits that locate fish or some baits that catch fish. I wanted this to be a bait that did both.
Sure. I mean, it looks like that tail's going almost completely around when it's
That's what I was saying. Full 360.
yeah,
Like
when
it,
it wobbles back there. And it looks
the
like when it falls, it's that tail moves on the fall as well of the bait, and yeah, I mean it's a cool looking deal. You also sent me a video here of the colors that you got. Like, and I've said this for a while. It's amazing, with soft plastics now, you're getting crankbait like pattern on these soft plastics the way these guys are painting. And you've got some really cool ones. There's a yellow one right there. I for whatever reason I like that yellow. But there's that gold up there. You got all kinds of cool colors here. So kind of go through maybe how the paint jobs and stuff were.
Yeah, so we're gonna bring a few different kind of styles to the show. There's gonna be some that are kind of like a base color with just the like it's like dust dye that's mixed in, and then sometimes that gives it like a iridescent color. Some of the ones you're showing there,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll have a bunch of other kind of specialized baits that are a base white or a base black or maybe a base gold, and they have a actual walleye, shad, black perch, flowage green perch, painted over them, and then they have a like a laminate seal over the paint. So that's kind of two versions that we're gonna start with.
Mm-hmm.
Some are kind of a solid cover with solid color with dye, and the other ones are actually painted like you would see on some of the other popular rubber baits in the industry right now.
Sure. That iridescent right there of that lower one, that's a cool looking color, the way it catches the light and everything. I really find that interesting. But no, these, like I said, being able to get these paint jobs on these big soft plastic baits, that's a neat gold there too. I'm just seeing all kinds of colors.
Yeah, there's some that really stick out. I mean, they're going to be really bright, and some other ones that really, as far as the color schemes, look really natural. Like that gold that walleye matches a
Mm-hmm.
walleye really well. That sucker in the very back there with those checker patterns you can see.
Yep.
We got a bunch of different versions of shad, like a blueback shad or Cisco, a blackback shad, a couple other versions. Actually, some other videos that I could send you of like a purple Cisco with that iridescent in it, and that color really glows well, especially in clear water.
Mm-hmm.
That pearl blue green or pearl blue and green iridescent really glows in the water.
Yeah.
That was one of the colors we did really well with too.
No, I'm sure. And the other thing too with these soft plastics you're talking about, there was you got them later in the fall. It definitely seems like the cooler water, these baits do shine really nice. The other thing I like about the swim baits is they're almost an idiot proof bait. You can give it to anybody, cast it out, reel it in, and it'll do its thing. So that's I really like these swim baits. I've gotten into them a lot over the last couple years, and I definitely use them a lot in the water. What did you find that you were talking about your figure eight stuff, but you did say that you thought that the fish did react really nice on the 8 to them?
Yeah, I think we got in a 3 or 4 week stretch, we got 6 or 7 fish on the figure eight. One fish that we had hooked 3 times before we actually hooked it and got it in the net.
Nice.
So they reacted really positively. Like my fourth cast ever with one, I caught one on the figure eight that was like a 38 to 40 incher. And after that, in early November, I pretty much had someone in the boat throwing it for the next month and a half, just
Sure.
because it was the most consistent bait really that we had. It wasn't always, not it wasn't the best bait every single day, but day in and day out, it averaged like a bite a day, which was really good, and outfished outfished bucktails and spinnerbaits and topwaters and other rubber baits when you averaged it over the total numbers of days fished. And
Sure.
while I don't like to call anyone fishing the bait an idiot, but as far as when you mean by idiot proof, uh, compared to really ripping on some big rubber tail baits and heavier baits, I certainly don't complain when I you can get a bait that has big fish appeal, has a big profile, but is a really simple bait to fish. It's easy to cast, it's heavy, you can cast it a long way, but it's just a really easy bait to fish. I mean, I would say it pulls probably in the same comparison to like a number 6 or number 8 single Colorado.
Sure.
There's very light pull to it.
Did
But
you
again,
did you try that with it yet? Have you tried putting a blade in front of it?
yeah, I ran the blade in front of it a little bit. I ran a number 8 Colorado, a number 9 Magnum, and a 10 Magnum a little bit. Uh, we had a bunch of attention from fish with the number 9, but didn't get as many fish to eat it. I think just got 1 or 2 fish to eat it with the 9. It's something that coming the water was already kind of dipping into the 50s. Not that blades don't work as the water gets cold, but I think that it's really going to work this coming season when we get a little bit of that warmer water. I think that the blade attachment is going to add a lot more fish to that.
Did you notice that it did it roll quite as much then, or did it still have a nice roll to it with the blade?
The bigger blade does dampen its action a little bit, just like I've seen with other baits
Sure.
when you're running rubber. The 9 and 10 definitely dampen it a little bit. The number 8 wasn't as bad, but I just think that hydrodynamically, that little disturbance that's in front of the bait, the water doesn't run over its body exactly. So just like you said, that big wide body roll that you can see on this video, it's not quite as exaggerated as it is without a blade in the front.
Sure. And then how have, like with your retrieve, you were talking about a steady retrieve. Did you try much of a stop and go, reel it a little bit, give it a rip, reel it a little bit, give it a rip? I mean, has that ever worked for you? I mean, in the fall for me a few times, that's been really well with swim baits.
Yeah. Years ago, my buddy Brian Clark on Chautauqua, he put a hurting on me with Shadzillas, and he showed me this little technique of he called it giving just like a little bump. You just kind of pull it a little faster, almost give it like a quarter second. It just kind of barely pauses, and then keep it moving. And we caught some fish doing that too. I think I had some people in the boat that didn't really know they were doing that. They just were not paying attention as much and would stop reeling a little bit.
That's
and
the
it,
best.
And it still worked.
Yep.
And it still worked. So I just said, just keep doing what you're doing. It's working.
Yeah. There's probably been many an article written about that.
Yeah.
The fall asleep retrieve.
And we had a couple of the where you cast 20, 30, 40 feet too far into the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just trying to get the giant weed ball off your bait. And we did have a couple fish eat on the giant rips where you can rip a bait free from weeds, which I guess kind of happens with any bait when you're fishing for muskies. But
sure,
those are always some pretty big, exciting strikes because the fish usually crush it when you're ripping it that hard.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I just, these look really, really nice, man. I'm excited to try some of these. Like I said, the swim bait thing has been something I'm getting into more and more. Actually, I've been using them too in Kentucky when our traditional jig bite has been happening, just kind of casting them and slow rolling them through the timber. And I've had some good luck doing that. It's kind of a deal where you don't want to use a real high speed reel, or if you do, you got to teach yourself not to reel too fast. But I've done really well using these swim baits and everything like that. And you've got some, and with these colors, I see colors that are going to work just about everywhere. What's some other? You got anything else with Lungen? I know you got the crankbaits and the spinners.
Yeah, so we did kind of something that we normally do. We brought we have 8 different colors in the hard baits in the whole line of injection molded hard baits. And we have those on our website. We did 6 colors in the spinner baits and bucktails, the full lineup of them.
Mm-hmm.
And And then we have some small batch in a bunch of the wooden versions. We have some small batch colors that are ones, twos, and threes of wooden 50 cals, wooden 22 longs, some chubbies, the square lip Chad Shads, and then also some of the ABS versions in 22 shorts, 22 short SSs, 22 longs, and 50 cals.
All
So we
right.
tried to bring a bunch of different stuff to reward people for coming directly to the shows, keep them going, keep the collaboration, and get to talk to. It's kind of the only face-to-face time you get with customers each year, and so we try to bring something that they can only get at the shows.
Yeah, no, that's always cool. You guys have always been good about getting the custom colors out there and getting a variety from different painters and stuff, and you kind of get that boutique colors and stuff from them, and it's always been neat. How was your year last year? Did you get out fishing a lot, or were you able to get some fish in the boat?
So we had a really good fall, and I think that overall fishing was really good. The entire or our season, which is kind of middle of February till the beginning of June, and then anymore it pretty much doesn't start till October because it seems like September is so hot anymore.
Yep.
But October till it seems like about the middle of December is when it's not that you can't keep catching fish. It just seems like I'm not on the water as much because I'm starting with some lunging things, and you got family and holidays and things going on. But we had a really good fall. Had a good March. Um, Not nearly as many multiple fish days, but had shots of fish every day in the latter half of February and March. Um, I had back surgery in April, so that kind of put a damper on any a lot of musky fishing in May, June, and the last 2 weeks in April. Um, our biggest fish in the boat on Kincaid was a 47 and 3/4, and that was on a little topwater in April. So that's a nice fish out
Mm-hmm.
there. That's one of the bigger ones we've had in the last couple of years, and had a couple other 45s and a bunch of low 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So for reservoir fishing, we had decent size still, good numbers. And I did a lot of other multi-species fishing this year too. So um, maybe I fished a lot, but it wasn't just for muskies.
Sure. What was this year for you down there on Kincaid? What was kind of your did you have like a pattern or a bait or a color that was kind of hotter than the rest?
Yeah. So March, the rattlebait bite was really good, and probably for 3 weeks in April, it was a little bit of everything. I think um, October we had a good deep crankbait weed bite. 22 longs, uh, depth raiders, and super shatter wraps were really good this year. And the
Okay.
super shatter wrap, I found myself throwing a lot more this year than in probably the last decade. But it put a lot of fish in the boat for me, for a bunch of other guys in the boat. Um, just getting the bait down. We had a lot of high pressure, really hot, sunny, flat days, and getting the bait down 6 to 10 feet on the cast seemed to make a really big difference. If you weren't if you weren't right in the moon window, or you weren't in the first hour or two when there was a bunch of fog, or the last half an hour of light, it seemed like you really had to keep the bait down in the column when we were fishing like weed lines and break lines.
Sure. No, I totally get that. That's I know in the fall it sounded like talking to Tony that Cave Run was pretty good in the fall. I had a decent spring. It was just you had to. I was having to try different areas and learn newer areas that I hadn't really fished a lot on the lake, and it was fun. We caught some nice fish. I've gotten into really throwing those big bass glide baits. So
Yeah,
like the Spros and the stuff like that, and I've done really well with those, and those have seemed to really kind of really been good for me. But
you have them coming up high in the column to eat those.
yeah, for the most
Oh,
part.
cool. Okay.
I have been using some heavier glide baits, working them down deeper, but I'm fishing a lot of skinny water. I got onto a really
Okay.
good skinny water bite, and those little Now, like I said, bass glide, and they're very easy to work too. You can give them to anybody. You can work them on a heavy bass rod, and the fish really seem to like them. But it's like anything, it's one of those deals that it could be a pattern that lasts a couple of years, and then it just kind of goes cold for a while. But right now, it
Yeah.
seems to be
Now,
pretty good.
is that like the S waiver, or which ones were you using?
I used my best ones were the Spros. The
Okay.
Spro actually it's the Spro Chad. They
That's
copied
what that was what I was going to ask you.
they
Yeah,
copied your
'cause I
name.
know that was a small batch company, the Chad Shad, that I remember that were really hard to get, and then Spro took it over.
Spro
Okay,
took it
so
over.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
I mean the thing is though is you start getting into those bass glide baits, people bitch about the price of musky baits. Oh my god, those
yeah,
guys
they put us to shame.
they are proud of those things. And you can buy bass glide baits now. I mean, hell, they're making those things up to 13, 14 inches. For those big, those California Clearwater lakes and stuff. And it's just amazing how big a bait those guys are using for bass.
Yeah,
But you're going to be paying for them.
do you ever see the Roman maids?
The what?
The Roman maid?
I think I have. Is that like a?
You should check them out. They're like 700-800 bucks.
Oh, good. I'll buy a couple
Make
of
sure
those.
make sure you put a steel leader on it.
Yeah, I'll buy a couple of those. That'd be good.
But
I'll get Tony to buy some of those.
they make a 13 or 14 incher, and it
Yeah,
weighs like 17 ounces. It's huge.
yeah. No, I've looked them up and I've sent messages to some of these guys and a lot of them are like, well, I make 7 a year under a full moon and I can only drink milk when I'm making. I'm like, shut up. Just make the goddamn thing. But no, they
Yeah.
drive me crazy. But the baits are. I mean, the one thing about them is they're a super easy to use bait, and a lot of them, like the 6-7 inch size ones, you can use with a heavy bass rod. The biggest thing about them is I don't like upping the hooks on them. I'd rather use a smaller rod than up the hooks. Because I upped the hooks on a few of them, and the problem was I was still using the bass rod. You just can't get a good action out of them with a musky rod. They just don't work
Okay.
as good. But when you up the hooks and put like bigger hooks on there, you can't get as good a hook set with the bass rod, and you end up losing them.
Okay.
So I was doing way better with smaller, thin wire bass hooks with a bass rod. We weren't losing hardly any. So then in my infinite wisdom, I go, oh, let's just up the hooks and it'll be even better. And no, that was a disaster.
Okay.
Do not do that.
Have you used? There's a rubber one that's a single jointed glide bait style. It's like 6 or 7 inches that Berkeley makes,
Bessie?
and
Is
yeah,
it
I think that's what it's called.
Bessie or the Beastie or something? Yeah, it
Yeah, I
works.
got a couple hanging in my garage. I haven't tried them yet though.
You got to have a light rod.
Okay.
You need a light bass rod, and they will work. If you use a light bass rod, they will work. But if you go with too heavy of a musky rod and a light rattle bait leader, thin, it's got to be something light. Because if you don't, you're not gonna. It's just the equipment's gonna overpower the lure.
Do you use like a rattle bait setup with like a
Yep.
say a heavy bass
Yep.
rod, 50
Yep.
pound braid?
I use all my bass rod stuff and all my rattle bait style stuff. Hell, I even throw some on the little ones. I even throw on a spinning reel and just
Okay, I'll have to try it this year.
just light. Yeah. No, I actually caught a few fish on spinning reels last year, flipping little jigs, and it worked out really well. So I like it. But Matt, what we can see you at the Chicago show, right? At the
Yep.
Lunge and Lure booth. And
Yes,
then
sir.
we're going to see how else, if somebody can't be in Chicago this weekend, they want to get some of these baits, how can they do it?
We'll be in Ohio the next weekend in
Yep.
Columbus
Mhm.
or in Hilliard, Ohio, at the McCoy Center, and then that's it for our show season this year. As soon as we get restocked again, we're going to have them on our website, and we're going to do our best to hopefully by the late spring to be able to fill up retailers with the baits as well. So all your favorite muskie shops online and some of the brick and mortars. We're going to try to fill them up as much as as many as they want. And we'll have some on our website as well, hopefully starting depending on how many we bring to the shows and how many sell. I'd like to have at least the site with 8 colors the beginning of March.
Sure. All right, man. Well, good deal. I look forward to seeing you this weekend and seeing some of these baits and stuff and checking them out in person. Guys, remember, if you're going to be in the Chicagoland area, Kane County Fairgrounds starts on Friday. The Chicago Muskie Show going to open up about 2:00. And 3 days of Muskie Palooza. Go in there and touch, feel. That's baits, not people. And see what you can find for the next year. Matt, I will. It was good talking to you, and I will see you. I'll see you this weekend.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Greg. Looking forward to seeing you.